everybody, and welcome to Storm Reads. And today I'm going to be wrapping up week 11th through the 17th. And I did really well this week. I actually read way more than I thought, but it's because I listened to a lot of books this week. I read 9 books, and I believe all of them but maybe one was audiobook. And it's because I was trying to get through a bunch of hoopla books that I had that were going to expire, and I wanted to read them. And so I just listened to like one right after the other. And instead of reading the books that I should have been reading, I was listening to these books instead. Oh well, that happens. Anyway, so the first book I have to talk about is Biscuits and Slash Browns by Maddie Day. This is Country Store number 4, and it's about Robbie who's arranging a breakfast-themed cook-off with pans and pancakes for visitors pouring into Brown County, and it's for the annual Maple Extravaganza. Unfortunately, this includes Professor Connolly, who is kind of a know-it-all academic from Boston who makes enemies everywhere that he goes, and this time his bad manners prove to be deadly. And in this one we have Robbie, who's going to investigate this because one of her staff members, he was having some problems to begin with, but then it comes to find out that his father goes missing, and he had some words with this professor who has died, and so he is a suspect. And she wants to get her employee back because it's really a big rush this time of year, and she's understaffed, and so she wants to help him find his father and figure out things so that she can get her worker back. So she investigates. I gave this 3 stars. It was okay. I think my problem with this is that I read books 1 through 3 like years ago, and I probably should have at least reread the first one to kind of introduce myself back to the characters, but I just felt really disconnected with the characters in this story because it'd been so long ago. It was like reading new characters, and I just thought it was okay because I just really didn't know the town. I didn't know the characters because it'd been so long since I read the other ones. So hopefully going forward, because this is on my Serious About Series, a challenge read, that I will get more invested in the town, because I'm going to try to read these within this year and into maybe next year, so that they'll still be fresh in my mind anyway. Then the next one I have is an e-arc that I read from HarperCollins, and it's called Journey Through the Burrows by Renee Heisel. I think that's how you say her name. I'm not sure. This was just a really cute mouse adventure story about 3 mice who kind of break the rules of Rodentia to go after a little pinkling that was stolen by these really big spiders after a nasty storm happened. Tobin and his sister Talia, they are having a new baby brother or baby sister, and in this world, mice only have one baby at a time, and so they call them a little pinkling. And they're not sure, if it's going to be a boy or a girl, and they're kind of excited about it, but there's this big storm coming, and they're weather watchers, and, well, Talia is like a little junior weather watcher. She's not quite there yet. She's still young. And Tobin and his friend Wiley are the ones that were watching this, but Talia comes to tell him about the pinkling being born, and so they go and they see the pinkling, but everybody's asleep because, it was exhausting, and they decide to sneak back up to like this lookout tower and watch the storm. And while they do, lightning strikes a tree, and the tree falls right by their burrow, and it kind of caves in a little bit of their burrow. And I guess there were these really scary spiders on this tree, and they used the tree anyway to get into the burrow where they are hunting for food to save up, and they take the little pinkling that was just born. Well, Tobin doesn't want to let them get away with his new baby brother or sister, and so he decides to go after them, and Wiley goes with him, and then Talia will not be left behind, even though she's younger and he didn't want her to go. So all three of them go on this little adventure where they meet some interesting other creatures. There is a chipmunk that tells them about the spiders and where they're probably going. And then they meet some snakes, which, you know, since they are prey to those predators, they're like really scared. But they find out that the snakes can actually speak rodent, and they want to team up, make a partnership. And because those spiders stole some of the queen snake's hatchlings, and so it's kind of a rodent snake partnership, which I thought was kind of fun and strange. And they set out to go after the spiders, and it was fun. It was cute. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. It was a fun middle grade read. That's all I can say. Then the next one I have is A Virgin River Christmas by Robin Carr. And I listened to this one, and this is number 4 in the Virgin River series, and my friend and I have been buddy reading this, and it's just a really fun, fluffy, light-hearted romance contemporary. And this one was about Marcy and Ian, and these two are not characters from like from the town of Virgin River that we've seen the other stories have been from. These are just two. Ian actually lives close by to Virgin River, but he lives up in like the mountains, and he's really rough in it. He's really rough and gruff. And Marcy comes looking for him because Ian rescued her husband Bobby when they were in Iraq in the war. And even though when he rescued him, he was really bad off, and he never recuperated, and he remained like in a vegetative state. It gave Marcy 4 more years with her husband, and now he has passed on, and she wants to know why Ian quit coming around and why he quit contacting her. She wrote him letters after letters, and he never wrote back. So she wants to go find him and let him know that Bobby has passed on, and how much she appreciated him, you know, rescuing Bobby and everything. But he doesn't really want to be found. He's up in the mountains. He just likes being there. But she does find him, and she refuses to leave. Even when he wants her to go, and she camps out in her car while it's really cold because it's Christmas time. And he finds her out, and she is really cold. She passed out from like the cold or whatever. So he brings her in the house and everything. Well, she ends up, of course, catching a cold. So she has to stay at his house and recuperate and everything. So it's got like this forced proximity type thing. And she's just really stubborn, and she refuses to give up on him, and she wants to get to know him, and she wants just to be in his life and to tell him stories, and she wants to know more about him and Bobby, but he doesn't want to. And yeah, it was just a really cute Christmas story. It's a lot shorter than the other Virgin River novels, and yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. Then the next one I have is You Spin Me by Karen Gray. This is the 3rd book in the Boston Classics series. This series, all her stories are based in like the 1980s, which is really cool, fun nostalgia for me since I grew up in the 80s. And this one is about Jessica, and we learn about her a little bit from, I believe, book 1, because she is Will's friend or Ben's friend. She's one of them. It's either book 1 or book 2. But I know she's in there. I just can't remember. And she is an aging actress, I guess you could say, of Broadway. She likes to do that kind of stuff. She's been a dancer since she was young. But she is getting older in acting age, I guess, or whatever. And she is having problems when she loses her job and her part for Ophelia she loses her part to a younger lady. It kind of makes her start thinking about how she's getting too old for this kind of stuff, and she sees herself as kind of not pretty and too fat. She has to, you know, so she's not eating right and everything. And so it does talk about like body dysmorphia, I believe it is, and everything, and the problems. and it talks about oh, anorexia, so triggers, I guess, for that kind of thing. And there's this radio DJ, his name is Cal, and when he was 4 years old, he thought he was big enough and he was going to show them that he can make popcorn over the stove. And he had his blanket on him, and he gets in there, and when he went to like light the stove, like it poofed up in the fire and it caught his blanket on fire, and so it burned his face and a lot of his body, and he struggled a lot with that, going through the burn units and the day-to-day torture of the burns, and having them try to fix the burns and stuff like that. So he has a lot of trauma from that, and the fact that he scares people whenever they see him and things like that. So he's always wearing like a hoodie and stuff. And being a DJ at night is just something he can do and be himself and not have to worry about people being around. Well, one night Jessica calls into the station and they start talking and everything, and then he finds out like she's commuting home from trying to find, you know, these jobs and stuff and doing this thing, and he tells her to call back like the next day, and then she calls the next day, and they just kind of have this relationship over the phone, and she really starts to like him and he likes her, but he's afraid of how she'll react to the way he looks, and so he doesn't want to meet her, but then she wants to meet, and there's she kind of accidentally meets him at the radio station and everything, and so it's just a really fun and meaningful, I guess, relationship between the two. She's like very pretty and everything, but she doesn't see herself as being pretty, and he's scarred and thinks of himself as ugly, but she thinks that he's pretty because he's really nice. His soul is pretty, and just because he is scarred doesn't mean that he is not a sweet and loving person. And it was just kind of nice to see that and everything. And they both have their own baggage and their own problems that they have to deal with, and you get that in the story as well and everything. But I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I really like this series. And then the next one I have is As the Christmas Cookie Crumbles by Leslie Budowitz, and this is number 5 in the Food Lovers Village series, and it's the last book in the series as far as I know. There is another book that came out, but it's like I think a novella and some short stories, so I'm not really counting it because I don't normally read a lot of novellas and stuff like that, so I'm counting this one as finished. So I knocked that one off as a finished series. And this one we have, in Jewel Bay, there's a whole town that sets aside a day to celebrate and decorate for Christmas. And Erin, the owner of the Merc, which is the like mercantile store that they have there, she's decorating her store, and while they're decorating, she hears a loud commotion. There's there's a parents are arguing with their daughter, and she's just like, oh my, you know, kind of put off that they would be just really mean to their daughter, like out in public like that. And you come to find out that the daughter had been in jail, and they are embarrassed by her and don't want nothing to do with her and everything. But she's trying to make up for it and trying to be better. And Erin kind of befriends her a little bit, and then later on we find out that she's been murdered, and so Erin kind of feels like she should look into things and see what happened. She's really doesn't think that she might have done some of the things that they said she did, but then, you know, she has the past, and so they're not sure. But she just really felt that she was really trying to make a difference with herself, and just the way her parents were about it. And it's like they were really mean to her like that, but then whenever they find out that she's dead, it was like, oh no, our daughter's dead. And Erin's just kind of like, what the heck, you know, and stuff. So yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. I think this one has a little bit of that. It's been a while since I've read the other books in the series too, that I wasn't really as connected as I could have been, but I did enjoy it, and I gave it 3 stars. And I'm glad that I can at least say that I have knocked another series off of my list of series that I have going. The next one I have is Murder in the Storybook Cottage by Ellery Adams, and this is number 6 in the Book Retreat series. And this is sort of a strange cozy mystery series that's really complex, and there's a lot of things that you can't really mention because I think it would spoil previous books. And it's definitely a series that I think you should read from book 1 on, because there is an overreaching story arc about Storrington and the secret book like place underneath that they have all these rare books and everything. And Jane is the newest like protector of the books or whatever. And in Storyton Hall they also do these book retreats and everything, so they every time they have one it's always different. Like there's been mystery and things like that, and this one they have decorated everything up as like storybook stuff and like fairy tales and retellings and things like that. And they also have some young readers there, and they have some children's book publishers that have come there. And one of the I think it's the children's book publisher people or somewhere around there is found dead, kind of like a Red Riding Hood type of thing, and in the Storybook Cottage. And so Jane has to look into what has happened and everything. And it also has more about her and her boyfriend Edwin, and they have a weird kind of relationship. And I'm kind of glad at the end of this one it gets resolved a little bit. I can't really say why they have a weird relationship because I think it would be kind of spoilers for some of the other books. But yeah, I'm glad that Jane has decided what she wants to do with that relationship, because I was kind of like, if you don't want to go forward with it or share your boys with him, then you should probably just split up. But so I am kind of glad we got some like a resolution with like that stuff, but and everything. And I kind of like that the police likes her help and everything, because since she is kind of, it's not like she's police or anything like that, but she is like the defender of the castle, so you should say she does know how to kind of take care of herself with being the protector of this. And like I said, it's weird. You would have to read the books to really understand what I'm trying to say and everything. And so I like that he doesn't mind her helping, and she feels really bad because somebody died at her retreat, so she really wants to get to the bottom of it and everything. And I really like this story. It's just different for cozy, but I do like the series. It's just kind of different, and I gave it 4 stars. And then the next one I have is Pros and Cons by Amanda Flowers, and this is the number 2 in the Magical Bookshop series. And this one we have Violet, who is the latest caretaker of the family's magical bookshop. And you find out in the first book all about the tree that's inside the store and the magical qualities and things like that of the store, and how it has the ability to pick the book for you. And the books also seem to be able to help Violet solve crimes. And when they were having it's in October, and they're having a food and wine celebration festival. And so Daisy, who is her grandmother, and Violet decide to have a Edgar Allan Poe reading at the store. And one of the ladies who was going to do a reading, because there's a writing group called the Red Inkers, yeah, and they are going to be doing the reading, but one of them is found murdered in her shop. And so of course Violet has to figure out what happened. And one of her friends is involved kind of as a suspect because of how the lady died and everything. And so of course she's gonna have to figure that out. And it was cute. I just, my only pet peeve about this series so far is the love triangle thing they got going on, because I do not like Nathan, and I don't think she should like Nathan either. But I do like I think he's the chief or the detective or whatever, Rainwater. I think his name's David. It's only the second one, so I haven't got all the characters memorized yet. But yeah, I like him a lot better than the other one. And so I just don't like love triangles. And I don't know, I think Violet, she just needs to decide. Like, she's just, I don't know, in her head she's all messed up, and she just needs to decide, I guess. But that's the only pet peeve I have really about this story so far is the love triangle. So I gave it 4 stars. Then the next one I have is Murder on Fifth Avenue by Victoria Thompson. And this is the 14th book in the Gaslight series. It's my favorite series, and I'm really starting to really like these last few ones that we've had. This one I really enjoyed. This one has Mr. Decker, who is Sarah Brandt's father. He's very hardcore, like they're rich and everything, and so they look down on the police. And in this era that we're in the Gaslight era, and you know, the police really in this era, they're not good. They only investigate if they're paid to investigate. And so they are known for taking bribes and all these kind of things. And so Mr. Decker doesn't really want his daughter associating with Detective Frank Malloy. But they have crossed hairs a lot, Mr. Decker and Frank Malloy, the detective. Mr. Decker knows that his daughter associates a lot with the detective and everything. So in this one, when Mr. Decker and his group at the Knickerbockers find one of their members dead, he requests that Detective Frank Malloy comes and investigates. This is kind of messing the detective up a little bit, because he's like, okay, so now what am I supposed to do? This is Sarah's father, and does he want me to investigate? I mean, like, is he going to pay me to investigate, or does he just want me there because he knows that I know Sarah and he thinks that I'm going to just do whatever he wants, kind of. So I mean, he's a little bit messed up. He's like, I'm not quite sure what's going on here, but he does. Mr. Decker wants him to investigate, so he does investigate and everything. But it's all this, it's in the rich and stuff, and so he's really in over his head whenever it gets into like the rich people sector and everything. So he does tell, goes to the house and everything, but they don't want him there. They don't want the police there and all that kind of stuff. And so Mr. Decker asks his wife, and then has Sarah go with her to go to the missus and talk to them because they know them and maybe they can get information. And so Sarah's like, wait a minute, is my father giving you permission and me permission to go and investigate? So I just thought that was really fun, because like, he's always like, you should stay out of this kind of stuff, you shouldn't get involved in this stuff. But all of a sudden, he's like, kind of gave them permission to investigate a little bit, to get some information for Frank Malloy, because they know that the richer upper crust people will not talk to him, and he will not be able to get the information, but knows that they probably can. And he knows that Sarah has solved plenty of investigations, whether he likes it or not. So, kind of grumbly lets them go. And then Detective Frank Malloy also asked for Sarah's help, and he's like, wait, are you asking for my help too? So it was just really fun, and I just had a lot of fun with this one and everything. And it was really kind of hard to figure out who the killer was. And then in the end, I really thought how it was dealt with, the killer and all that stuff. I liked how it was dealt with and everything. And I just really love this one because Sarah Brandt really likes the detective, and the detective really likes her. But because of their circumstances, because she was born from a rich family and he's a policeman, their paths shouldn't really cross. And I'm hoping that now maybe Mr. Decker is starting to see the detective in a different light, and maybe he won't be so opposed to them being together, and so maybe they'll get together in the future, because I really want them to get together. But I really like this one, and I gave it 5 stars. And the last book that I have for the week is 16 Scandals by Sophie Jordan. And this is a young adult historical romance. And I wasn't sure how I would like that because it was young adult. But I know Sophie Jordan writes a lot of adult historical romances, and I've not tried any of them, but I need to. But this one, just the cover looked cute and it just sounded fun. It's about Primrose, who is the youngest daughter in a family that has like maybe three sisters, 2 or 3 sisters. Anyway, one is on the verge of, I think, getting married. The other one is out, and they're trying to get her married off and everything. And the mother thinks they got too much going on with the marriage thing and her sister already being out. So when it's time for Sophie to come out, because she just turned 16, they tell her that they're just going to put it off and she's not going to be able to come out this year. And she's like really shocked. She's like, what? You know, I can't believe you're not going to let me come out. She's been waiting for this. I mean, this is something that the young girls wait for, you know, to be able to come out into society and everything. And so she's talking to her friend and everything, and they concoct a scheme that they're going to sneak out and go to this thing. I can't remember what it was called. But they're going to go into the town, but they put masks on so that nobody can see them because they don't want to cause a scandal. But she just wants to have a little fun because it's her birthday. And while she's there, she meets this young man named Jacob, and they get into some trouble. He rescues her, she rescues him, and they just have kind of a fun little adventure. The ending was really cool. I can't really talk about that, but I do like how it ended. But it was just kind of a fun romp with younger historical characters, because normally when I read a historical romance, it's with a little bit older historical characters and everything. So this was kind of fun that these ones, it was geared more towards younger, like teenage readers and stuff. And so I thought it was cute, and I gave it 4 stars. So that's everything that I read this week. Like I said, I read quite a bit. I listened to everything but like the one e-arc that I had. I had a really good reading week because nothing was lower than a 3, and I had a 5 star. So I think I had an excellent reading week. And now I need to get to all the ebooks that I have currently that I am reading that I haven't got to yet because I was listening to so many books. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.